What's up, guys? Ronin Man here. So we just had breakfast at the Summit Hotel, which I'm still doing research on until tomorrow. And then we'll go down to Bangkok, come back next weekend for the summit. But it was nice to see some dates with a whore. We see everywhere we go, we see a little date with a whore action. You know, it's like these guys that they can't possibly get out of their mindset. You know, they drag these girls along. They find them in the bars. They pay them $100 or whatever the fuck they pay them. You know, they tip them a huge amount, and then they
hold their hands.
They hold their hands
walk down the street.
Yeah, and the girls are so embarrassed, like walking with this foreigner. The girls don't mind as much if there's no ties around, but if there's ties around, they're so embarrassed. Like they wouldn't want to go to like a fancy place with a foreigner when everybody knows what's going on, right? It's so ridiculous. Oh my God. But yeah, we saw it this morning. Date with a whore. So yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a guy who can't change. That's really what that is. It's not about making fun of the guy. It's like it's so weird because it's like dating was made for women, right? Everything was that women would, you could seduce her in the 50s if you took her to like a milkshake and Coca-Cola and 57 Chevy.
Go to the dance.
Go to the dance hall.
The ball.
Yeah, like, what is it? Listen to, what's the guy? Buddy, the guy who died in a plane crash. Buddy Holly. Yeah, Buddy Holly. Listen to Buddy Holly in action, and you could seduce her. But the funny thing is this is not the topic of the video, but it's just like guys were the ones that were sold on it. And you can see it in Thailand. You can see it in any country where there's a lot of prostitutes. You'll see guys who will pay money to re-experience something they did in order to seduce a girl. It's kind of like an old salesman paying money to like pitch customers, even though they're not going to buy or something. Like it's weird. It's so weird. Like it's like you did that pitch so that you can get a sale, right? It's nothing to really enjoy. It's not, it's like it's you got to be careful of letting yourself become a very limited person, I think, as you get older. You got to beware of being a clown, like I think constantly challenge yourself, having younger friends, constantly getting smarter friends and better friends, and being honest with yourself and changing is so important because you really become a clown. Like I think the average old guy really becomes a clown because he's got his basic like weaknesses, right, that he had as a young man, but now he's got like maybe a little bit of dementia going on. He's like very unhealthy. His blood is not moving around like normal. He's not able to do things that make him feel better, like exercise. He's got limitations like tons of pharmaceuticals going through his blood. And in addition to many faults that he never worked on. And so it's like his mind is just a big fog, I think, most older guys. These days, like most people when they're older, their mind is just a confused fog. I think in the old days, I think old guys, they were ripped, okay? Like think of an old, like a ranch hand. He was like 65, 70, he was strong as fuck. He could tame a horse. He could carry a fucking bale of hay. He was still, like my grandfather was like that. He was definitely like that, 100%. He looked like a young guy, except for his face and his neck looked old. And the back of his hands, you could see were old. But he was like moving around like a young guy. And I'm talking at 79. He was like that. And it's like, he was very logical to talk to. And I remember we went out on a walk in Minnesota down this big road. And I remember I brought this Japanese girl along. We were walking and I was talking to him and I was thinking, I feel like I'm talking to a young man. That was my feeling. Like he was able to make fun of himself, to remember everything, to have biting insights on things that were going on. He didn't keep up on politics, but like our family, like he had some biting insights into people in our family that would only come from a sharp mind, right? And he was 79, right? And he died 2 years later, but it was just like he was totally like enjoyable conversation at 79. I'll tell you that, and also walking too. He walked a lot, and. But I see so many guys now that they're just zombies, really. I mean, you can blame it on society or whatever, but in the end of the day, man, fuck that. We're all responsible for our lives, right? You know, these guys they're wasting their life. I mean, what in the next life? I mean, when are they going to take responsibility for themselves? Like,
just watching some of them like sit down in a chair. It's like, all right, they move into position, they pause for a moment, they get ready, and then they sit down, and there's like as they like sit down, like it's like this huge deal just to sit down in a chair. I'm like,
right.
I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like they come, they get over the chair, they're like ready, and then they sit down. But it's not. It's even more so like. Like the movement is just difficult for them. I'm like, is sitting in the chair for them really that difficult?
Right.
I mean, it's just like, it's like a simple thing, but I'm like,
I mean, there's inevitable things like, you know, especially if you work in a job that's very, rough on your back. There's those guys with fucked up backs. You know, I know a guy in Santa Cruz. He was what was he doing? I think he was a concrete guy, but his back is just like, I mean, his back is like, he did some kind of major risky surgery the other day, and apparently it worked. So he didn't die, because he could have died. It was such a big time deal. Like his back is just like it's like a piece of spaghetti that just got attacked by wolverines. It's a bag of shit, his back. You know, so that guy's, you know, he's got to pass, right? But you're right. Like the average person is just like sitting down is like a challenge, you know. And that's just physically. I'm basically talking about the mental state of these guys. Like, I mean, they're connected, right? But it's just like so sad to see.
And if it's like that for them, you know, most people are only going in one direction, right? They're not improving, right?
Yeah.
So if it's that difficult for them to sit down today, what's tomorrow like?
It'll be worse tomorrow, yeah.
Right. Most people aren't improving, right? They're degrading, right?
Of course.
A majority of people are degrading. So
and usually fairly rapidly.
If it's this difficult for them to sit down today, what's tomorrow? Like, that's not, you know, optimistic, right? It's like, you know, they're going down.
Right. And the thing is like, you know, you guys that are new, if anybody's new to the channel, you might think, hey, this guy's bagging on these guys, you know, they're already fucked, you know. I tell you, man, that mindset is not accurate. Anybody can get in shape. And I've helped people like in all kinds of situations. I remember when I hurt my back, when I had that serious back injury, I basically was in a position where it was looking like basically like I was fucked. Like basically like my life was never going to be the same. It was one of those life-changing things. And when I went, you know, I didn't give up, and I basically asked everybody I knew, and one of my friends has a back surgeon brother who's very very well, what do you call it, recognized guy in Manhattan, and he told me, I just, you know, got the information from his brother, but he said basically, he told me stuff basically, and I did it. I did what he said, and miracles, I was able to stand up and not have surgery. I could not move for 3 days. I could not even move my pinky. I was just in a bed, you know, totally. And I made videos about it. You guys can go back and watch them, you know. And when I was in the bed, I actually make a video. But the thing is that I didn't give up, and I looked for a solution, and I found it, you know. And I went through the pain of sitting up, and the fear, that my back was going to collapse. It felt like it was like a bunch of like balls stacked on top of each other that could just fall over any second, or, it didn't feel like a back. It felt totally like it was just going to bend in half and I was just going to hit the ground with my face. That's what it felt like. But I said, there's got to be a way, and I found a way, and I did exactly what he said. I trusted him, and I did what he said. And when the neurosurgeon came in, what is he called? Not neuro, or no, there's a name for him. Anyway, the main guy at the hospital, he was very well recognized in Thailand. He came in, and I was standing there, and he expected me, because for 3 days I hadn't moved. But I had been talking to this other surgeon on the phone and getting advice, and I followed it, and I found a way to basically stand up, and that was the beginning of getting better. And I looked at him, and I was standing with him. I took an Instagram picture, and I posted it and thanked him, and I said to him, I said, what is your prerogative? Like, what do you expect me to go through now? Like, what's my next, what do you think I should do? And he literally looked at me and he goes, I've never seen anybody like you. He said, I've never seen anybody stand up after the situation you were in for the last 3 days. He says, I don't know. He says, just keep doing whatever you're doing. Just keep doing it. And I think it was a combination of several things. It was lifting weights since I was 12 years old. It was
yoga.
Moving. It was yoga for years. It was yoga for years for sure until that point, right? I had been doing yoga all the time. And it was kind of just the same spirit of never giving up, never giving up. You know what I mean? Like, you got to kill me to stop me, basically. And, it really is. That is my mindset. And like, it's like almost like a violent mind. It's like, you cannot fucking stop me. Like, fuck you. Like, I am not going to stop. Like, I am going to go, right? If I got to crawl, I'm going to crawl. And that mindset, and also the openness to listening to people and changing, like, allowed me to build like I was kind of ready for it. And then I got the good advice. It was scary, but I followed it. And then I used my creativity to think of the next solution, was water. So I said, hey, like every day my back was hurting. I could not do anything. I was, even after standing up, like it was like really tough. And I said, I got to start moving. I got to start exercising. And I asked everybody I knew what to do, and nobody had an idea. Nobody knew what I could do, considering the situation I was in, how bad it was. Because I couldn't even swim. Okay, I couldn't even like move and swim. So I thought of it. I said, you know what? I've heard of these masks that are full face snorkeling masks. The reason why I read about them is because they were killing people because they don't get the CO2 out of them, so people were dying. But I said, I bet you that mask would be good for me now, because I'll just keep clearing it with air once in a while, so I won't have the CO2 problem. And also, I can just lay floating in the water. I can just float laying in the water and comfortable and just sit there and breathe. And then I can start to move slowly, and I can move different ways, this way, move my hands, move a leg a little bit, just keep moving. And I decided that I was going to, and this was all my own kind of invention. I said, I'm going to go in the pool at 7 a.m, which was like hard because getting down the stairs was hard. I basically had to like fall into the pool. Like in any other country besides Thailand, they would have been calling an ambulance, but I just said, don't call the ambulance. And I just got into the pool. I laid there in the pool, and then I started to move my neck, move my fingers, move around. And I said, my mindset was, I'm just going to sit in the pool because it's warm in Thailand for 5 hours until 12. And I will put a water bottle next to the pool, and then I'll just learn to move, to find a way to move. And what happened was, it was amazing. After about, I don't know, short period of time, 40 minutes or something, I found myself kind of like loosening up a little bit, just a little bit, like feeling a little bit. I knew it was going to work. And so that's what I did. Every morning for 5 hours, I would lay in the pool and I would move in any way that I could do that day. I just keep moving. And what happened is I started to feel like emotionally better. Like I felt physically better. My mood was better. And I said, hey, even if I can't live on the land, I can live in the water. Like I love the water. I can just live in the water. I'll get a fucking apartment with a pool and I'll just hang out in the pool. Like I'm going to live. Like I'm just going to keep going no matter what. So I said, yeah, I love the water. I don't give a shit about the land. So I'll just be like an ocean kind of person, fish, basically. Enjoy my life, listen to audiobooks, friends come over. I can still get up and move, but I mean, like I can spend a lot of time in the ocean now, like people used to do, like fish and dolphins, and they're not, their life doesn't suck, right? Their life is awesome. So I can be in the water a lot. And that's what I was doing. I was doing 5 hours in the morning, sometimes 4, and then I would come back in the evening, and I would kind of like walk to the park, lay down under a tree, and then walk around, because I was getting to the point where I could walk again, and I would walk a bit, but then my back would start to, so I'd get back for like 2 hours in the evening, and I would lay in the pool, and it was nice because it was a different vibe at night. They had good lighting at the pool, so it was like pretty, and I would just enjoy the evening, take a sauna, come down, fall asleep, and I ended up, I probably got more exercise during that period than usual, actually, because I was just constantly kind of semi-moving, and I was like twisting and moving in ways that would kind of like feel good, but they also like, the reason why they feel good is they were like little stretches and like moving blood in there, right? And then next thing you know, I'm fucking, I'm up again and I'm doing yoga again and exercise, squats, and and it was okay. I never fully recovered. Like my back still has that same disc out, and it's a horrible looking MRI, but I finally got a back doctor. I talked to her and she said, and this was very good information, and this is all related. This is how you don't become those other guys, right? I said, what do you think about my MRI? And I had a lot of people who told me I need surgery. This is like a year ago in Santa Cruz. Everybody said you need surgery. And I could have done it, like no problem. I had everything set up. I had the doctor. But then I went to this other doctor and I asked her, I said, what do you think? And I trusted her. I knew her. She was very knowledgeable, this lady. And I said, what do you think? My MRI looks terrible, right? And she goes, you know what? She goes, let me tell you something about backs. She goes, and this was another piece of the puzzle for me. She said, they did a crazy test with backs once. They went up to random people on the streets and they said, would you like a free MRI? We're just going to give MRIs to people randomly, and we're going to ask them how they feel and see what the connection is between the picture of their back and how they moved around, how they felt in their daily life, and how they exercise. And they found that some people with the worst back pictures, right, were actually doing just fine. And other people with back that was not even bad at all were taking like opiates for pain and everything. And she said, at the end of the day, the conclusion of the study was not that there were sneaky backs that looked good but were actually fucked up. It was actually that it was the person's mental state and decisions that determined whether they needed painkillers and back surgery and whether they couldn't move or not. It was more based on the person than the injury. And that's incredible. So she said, look, we'll do back surgery for any time you want. And we obviously make more money if you do back surgery, but she liked me. She basically wanted to move to Japan with me. Yeah, she was like all getting pictures of Japan, and she was all stoked on me, this chick, Kathleen. And she's cool. I might bone her when I go back, actually. But anyway, she said, if you need it, like if you can't move or whatever, we can do it. But basically, you're doing great. Like, don't worry about the picture. Like, as long as you're doing fine, don't worry about the MRI. And don't let anybody else make you worry about the MRI. Like, as long as you're doing fine, you're doing fine. That's all. There's no secret thing that's destroying your back. You're not grinding your back into dust. You really don't have anything to worry about. If something's wrong, then let's talk again. And, it was the exact same, basically thing I would have thought about many other problems in life. I never imagined a back MRI would be like that. But that's what she said, and I really believe that she's correct, and that study was very groundbreaking. So that gave me the intellectual reason to keep doing what I would do emotionally anyway, which is basically just keep going and figure out a way, right? But that really helped me, because I thought, don't believe an old guy just because he says he has a knee problem or a back problem, or it's more complicated than that. A lot of our life is our own decisions. And there's like I was willing just to become basically a seagoing creature, basically, because I was thinking, what's the fucking difference? Like, I don't give a shit. I love the water. I don't care. Like, I got no attachment to land. I really don't. I like the ocean. I like water. So I think that like we were talking about older guys this morning, like, you really have a lot more control over your life than you think, basically. You have a lot of control of your future, about how you feel, than you would expect. Like, it's crazy, but medicine and body and stuff, it's not as medical as you would think. I mean, I have great respect for doctors. I mean, Western medicine, I don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-Western medicine. I'm glad we discovered antibiotics. I'm glad we got a lot of things that we have, and I'm very pro, and I always do like, if I have a way, to go to doctor, I do appreciate their advice, and I listen to it very carefully, because sometimes they're right. And sometimes you got to even look in the doctors for the good doctor, like I found with Kathleen, right? She gave me the good advice finally, right? But that being said, I think, physical, like, medicine is not so different from staying in shape. Like, it's like kind of the same thing in a way. It's like making smart decisions based on, your physical capacities and things that are available. What would you say?
To me, it kind of comes back to the thing of, like, it's either choosing to improve or choosing to degrade. Like all these old guys have trouble sitting down. I'm not saying it's easy, but they could start doing yoga. They could start trying to improve, but it's like, well, what happens if you go up to them and be like, hey, do this? They're just gonna be like, it's too hard. I don't want to. Well, they don't want to try anything new, right? They're kind of set in their ways.
They're probably not used to trying new things. And also, too, one of my biggest messages in this channel is for young guys. Because here's the way the mind works as a young guy. Okay, so you're young, so you say, well, I'm not old. I don't have to worry about this, right? So when I'm old, I will worry about this. The problem with that logic is the way that I overcame that back thing was going back 30, 40 years before that, when I started lifting weights. The only way that you cannot be that guy who has trouble sitting down is to start now. So you're prepping your body for being capable of the miracle, basically.
Right.
That's what you're doing. And you're going to feel better too. I mean, of course.
Eating good when you're young, building your body.
Yeah.
It's like getting ready for a disaster in the future.
And constantly learning too, like trying new things. Like I recently, I'm very persistent, you guys. A lot of you guys think, I do that. But you don't really know what I do. So you don't really understand like the word. So I try to give examples so that you can see how persistent I am in trials. So let me give you one example. So when I first heard about creatine was back in the early 90s, and there was no studies about it at the time that I knew of. Well, there was no internet too, but I didn't read about it. I couldn't find any studies. It was kind of this new supplement thing, basically. And because they had protein powder was huge, and they had like supplement stores opening up, and supplement counters and supermarkets and stuff were starting to, in the most progressive areas, they're starting to have. And not that these things are good. I'm not big on supplements at all. I don't take any supplements. The only one I take now is creatine. But let me tell you the how I got there. So I used creatine back then. I bought creatine, And I don't know what I did wrong. Even to this day, I don't know what I did wrong then. But I started to gain weight and look bad. Like I was like, at the time I was like a 31-inch waist. This was in the peak of my boning chicks days. I was in killer shape. I was wind sprinting. That's when I beat the women's world record in the 50 meter, almost beat them. I was absolutely ripped. I could do anything. I could just run. I could just start running. I could run 5-minute miles until I was bored, basically. And life was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Life was so fucking good back then. And then I took creatine, and maybe I changed something else without knowing. But anyway.
You're taking protein powder as well?
I was taking protein powder.
The protein powder
probably what happened.
And it wasn't just raw protein powder. They were adding other flavoring or chemicals.
There was no flavoring. No, I always got the basics. But probably you probably nailed it. Actually, is I bet you what happened was I got excited about supplements, at the time, and I bought. I remember I did take protein back then. So yeah, that's probably what it was. I didn't even think about it. I didn't separate the two. Yeah, so you can make mistakes without even knowing. So what I did was I'm sure this is what happened actually. I bought these big things of protein from the US because they didn't sell them in Japan yet. And so I bought these big things of protein when I was home. And then I thought they were kind of like a miracle cure. So I was like powering down the protein. And I was eating a lot. I eat a lot anyway. And I was taking creatine, so I started to get fat. So then I thought, when I say fat, I got like a 33-inch waist. And it didn't look good, And I was like, this is fucked, I was like, no more like totally ripped. So, when you got those muscles on the side, what are those called?
Cum gutters.
Yeah, the cum gutters, yeah. I was like, I'm losing the cum gutter. This is fucked, And so I thought, oh, this creatine shit has got to go. So I quit. And then I tried one more time, and I used creatine. I don't remember when it was, but I tried one more time. And the same thing happened. I started to gain weight again. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. And then, so I thought, okay, I'm never going to do creatine. I did it twice, and I gained weight. It's the only time in my life I ever gained weight. So it was like for me, pretty dangerous. Like, I don't want to gain weight, right? I don't want to be a fat fuck, right? So I was like, I'm never going to. Creatine, I did it twice, I'm done. But then, now, fast forward 2024, and I started to read about research from people I respected that creatine has several benefits for your brain. And then what really got me was, two things got me. One was that it helps you when you have a sleep deprived day. And once in a while, I don't have a good night's sleep, once in a while. And I thought, well, I hate when you lose a day because of a sleep. Something happens, you don't sleep good. And then you kind of lose the next day. I really hate losing a day, right? Just despise that. Because you can't get it back. It just sucks. And so I thought, because I generally feel good, right? Most people don't, right? But I generally feel great, right? So if I have a sleep deprived day, I don't feel good for a day. Fuck that, right? So I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then the one person I follow on health online is Dr. Rhonda Kirkpatrick. Her channel, Found My Fitness, is just so awesome. Very, very trustworthy. And I could not believe that she recommended it because she's not, bodybuilder type or anything. And she said it's good for your brain. It has no side effects. And so I couldn't believe it because I knew she wasn't paid off. I knew for a fact this girl was not selling creatine and she was not making money off. And I was like, wow. And she's smart as fuck. So, and she tries everything. Like, she looks good. She does everything right. And I was like, whoa. That's almost like a minister recommending getting whore or something. That's crazy that she would recommend creatine. Because creatine was always recommended by kind of like these, like the gym bro guys, right? And the steroid guys, right? And I was like, because I hadn't been paying attention for a few years, right? Because I was tired. I was never going to do it again. And so then the third time, right? Third time's the charm. I started creatine in 2024, late 2024. And now it's like probably a month later, 2 months later. And I definitely feel like I've gained muscle. And I look better. And I didn't gain any fat this time. So you not only have to be open-minded in order to have a body ready for action from the day you're born till the day you die, but you always have to have like an ultimate humility and kind of a spirit of experimentation and trying and really like deep self-honesty. Because until this conversation, I didn't realize it was the protein powder, but you're absolutely right. It actually was, because I remember I had never tried any supplements, and then I tried protein powder, and then I got creatine. That's what happened. I did protein powder first because that seemed like safer, you know. I didn't want to do steroids or anything like that. Just protein powder seemed very safe to me. And now I think protein powder is just like an ultra-processed bullshit. Like I would never take protein powder. No fucking way. It's just total bullshit. Just eat eggs, you know, chicken. You don't need fucking any kind of ultra-processed bullshit you don't want. But creatine's not ultra-processed, right? It's good for you. It's just basically the whatever the creatine, whatever. It's 100% pure. So I like it. I think not only will you find the truth with this attitude, and it requires being wrong too, right? And kind of like being open-minded to the extreme. And also too, I think it's the ultimate kind of like tinkering. It's the ultimate tinkering. Is you're tinkering with your own life. And you're going to get the payoff from that. Like you're not getting married, right? You're never going to give your money to some cunt. So you're always going to be free. And what do you want to do? You want to look great, right? You want to look great, of course. Looking great helps you get jobs, helps you get chicks. You get treated better wherever you go, right? You get more respected. You know, like you'll look in the mirror and feel better about yourself. Like there's no benefit. The reason why looking better is important is because you are not some fucking dickwad in Hollywood who is using plastic surgery to look like somebody else. What you're doing is looking more like you. When I say looking better, you're looking more like the real you, right? What your DNA is capable of. So that is a worthwhile experiment. You're not using some kind of filter on your life, right? You're not editing it. You're not wearing a shirt with a six-pack, right? You're actually building your body through, you know, your strengths and weaknesses, and your discipline,
consistency,
open-mindedness, honesty, consistency, mental acuity, and you know, really just stick-to-itiveness and willingness to try new things and try different ways. You know, like we were just talking this morning. Like you were saying your dad, you know, fucked his knee up. You just tell that story in a nutshell. So he was 18.
So, I don't know exactly when. I think it was after he had kids, but he did like pick up basketball or something, and you know went up to go block the ball or something, you know, came down wrong and hurt his knee. And I don't know exactly, but before that he used to be skinny, good looking. I think my dad actually he went to college for like business administration because he wanted to like open a gym. That was his like dream or something. And so he used to be very fit apparently, but after his knee injury, you know, I guess he was eating out a lot at work, and he gained weight. And I guess as far as like since I've ever known him, he's like had a belly. Maybe my like first memories of him, he had like less of a belly, but he's basically had a belly his entire life, and it was from this like one knee injury from basketball.
Right, and this is a great little topic here to end the video, because I want to break this one down. I want to break down what happened. Okay, so you got a guy, and there's a picture of him totally ripped at 18, right? So he was like super into fitness. It wasn't bullshit, right? Some guys, they say they were a big football star, but they weren't, right? There's people that outright lie about their past, right? Like you got to be careful. But you saw a picture of him at 18 and he was totally ripped because you're in great shape and he was more muscular than you. So he was looking great, right? And not many people do look that good. So, okay, so that's true. And then he loved basketball. Wanted to, it all makes sense. And then he hurt his knee playing basketball, right? What I would advise him, if we can go back in time, is I would take him, if we were doing Unblackmailable for him, I'd say, look, okay, like, what do you love? I love this. I love being in shape. And he's like, but my knee, And I would say, well, okay, so we know what you love.
He doesn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
His knee.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it's like something I've scarcely heard 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, but it's
across the decades that I've known him.
But also, it's the way he blames his current situation.
He's like kind of depressed about it.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't like to talk about it.
So the pain is real, you guys. It's for not being unblackmailable, basically, for not being like what I'm talking about. The pain is like really painful, you guys. Like the benefit is big, right? But I think the biggest thing is to avoid the pain of just looking back on your life and just being filled with regrets. Like that's what your future is if you're not really listening right now. Like that's what I think. I really most of my friends are just filled with regret. And I'm not talking like there's just most people are just full of regrets. Full of regrets they didn't travel earlier. Full of regrets they didn't bone chicks when they were young. Like they want to be the stud. They want to have fun, right? And they regret it that they never did it, right? They never got out and did it when they were young, right? And when it's really enjoyable, right? And you really get the reaction from the girls that you want, right? You can be 60 years old and take 17 Viagras and pay somebody, but it's not the same. It's not the same. When you're a young man and she's stoked and life is a breeze, it's just
feel great.
It's just totally different, yeah. And humor, you just like everything's right? Everything's right. So what I would have recommended to him, which I would recommend to anybody here, is when you have a life-changing physical problem, which I've had a few. Okay, that thing with my back is only the latest. I had a few that taught me what I'm teaching you now, right? So what you need to do is basically break it into don't immediately like write these dire scenarios because you're not a very good writer and they're not true and you're just making up a bunch of bad stuff. Wait, you don't know the future, right? So what you do is you say, okay, what do I love? I used to love, right? Like don't get into that used to. Like, what do I love? I love being in shape. I love seeing the sunshine, climbing a mountain, whatever it is, hiking through the marsh in the fog, hunting ducks, whatever it is that you love, right? And the deep sea fishing, scuba diving, mountain climbing, lifting, whatever it is that you love, right? So you love these things. Okay, so then what have I done my whole life to get in shape? What most guys don't realize is that they've kind of been a retard as far as getting in shape most of their life. Like they haven't really learned that much. Like they found one thing that worked, they did that, and then they got in shape. And then they reach a challenge. Now the challenge could be, like for example, I knew a guy who was a great runner and he could drink a case of beer and then win a 6K, right? Or 10K. He could win a 10K, 6 miles. He could win a 10K after drinking all night. Like he would be at the starting line. His name was Scotty. Scotty would be drinking a beer at the starting line. And I went with him to the race. And he's like wasted off his ass. And he would be at the start. We were at the starting line in Santa Barbara. And then he ran and won the race, right? Like Scotty was able to do that when he was whatever age. We were like 18, 19. And so I think Scotty thought that was the way he was. Like Scotty is the guy who can just, drink all night and win races and, extremely fast times too. And he just didn't need to worry about it. But what Scotty didn't realize is that was a function of a couple things. One was his DNA and his training, of course, his high tolerance and all that, but also youth. And what he didn't realize is that your body changes like really fast. So by the time he was 23, he's not 21 anymore. He's not 19 anymore. He's not 18 anymore. By the time he's like 23, all of that kind of invincibleness, as far as like drinking all night, winning a race with a, insane time, was basically gone already.
The insane recovery.
Yeah, the insane recovery. Yeah, and also the what do you call it? Like the degradation of his body from the endless abuse. So like that also, maybe if he would have gone like Mr. Whole Foods until he was 23 and then had one night of drink, he probably could have done it right. One night. He probably no problem. But what he couldn't see is that one, his body would change really quickly from that unique skill that he had, and also that there would be any kind of like that he was not what he thought he was. He thought he was a certain person, but what he really was an amalgamation of skills, result of discipline, DNA, and youth. It was like a basket of things that were all going to change, right? So what happens to guys, whether it's him or your dad, at 30 or whatever, playing basketball, is that when you're young, you think it's me, but it's not you. It's not you. It's like where you are today. It's pretty funny because I've been thinking about this episode for a while, right? And I was in Cambodia and drinking Dave's son, right? He's totally cool. He was sitting there in the bathroom, and I said something like, "How do you feel?" Because he had something wrong with him. I can't remember what it was. And he goes, "I'm great now." He goes, "The thing about me," he said, "I recover really quickly, right?" He goes, "I recover super quick." And he's 12, right? And I remember, like looking at it. It was so funny because I was looking at him, I was thinking, that was me. That was so me. And probably even his dad told him that. Like, people can't see life, even if it's right in front of them.
Kids recover quick.
Like, guy's 12 years old, he's in great shape. Of course,
eating healthy,
Yeah. So, and also he's just a healthy fucking kid with good DNA, right? So naturally, he just one day recovers from some miracle thing, right? So, but it's very dangerous. I no longer think I am some static state of Paul anymore. Like, I now realize that I'm always balancing on a bunch of, like the jugglers are like balancing on some balls that are rolling and they're throwing these, flaming, torches
bowling
and
pins.
Yeah, bowling pins and catching balls and checking their watch. And, they're doing all these things that seem like who they are at the moment, but it's like a multitude of things and luck and situations that are going on, lack of wind and everything. And you bring in like a gale storm wind and it's going to change those fucking torches flying around, right? And so I always realize that I'm not physically, like I'm not like me. I'm just a frozen, in motion, like a high-speed camera. I'm just like that picture, but after that picture, anything can happen, right? Like the picture of the NFL, like the guy's catching it and then he drops it, right? Yeah, he drops it, right? Or he gets paralyzed, on that play, right? It's like, it's just all I am, at that moment I am doing that. So that is true and you should be proud of that. But that is not a consistent state or a static event. That's just something I did at some moment, right? And it's a complex brew of things, right? So I think if you see yourself that way, and you see that you need to at least in your life, I would say at least 3 times, you're going to have to totally physically reinvent your workout in order to keep the parts of your life that mean something to you, to keep doing whatever it was that you thought it was being in shape, but it's something else, right? Whatever it is that you value that you're doing, you're getting, you're going to have to find another way to get it. A totally different way, which will require a totally different mindset and learning and skills. So the sooner you realize that, the better. And you'll start to realize that you don't have the answer, right? Like I've kind of realized recently, like I've always been a huge, as you guys know, fan of high intensity training, right? And Mike Mentzer. And I think Mike Mentzer might have saved my life in a lot of motorcycle accidents and things like that. And so I don't turn my back on that. But since my back injury, I can't. At one point I was able to deadlift 650 sets of 650 pounds, right? I can't from the floor. I can't do stuff like that anymore, and I can't squat heavy weights like I did before because my back just can't take it. I can't. Like for me, like 300 pound squats is a lot now. Like I'll get up to like 250, 300 once in a while in a set. Once in a while I'll go to like 320. But I no longer value those. I don't think that my future is going to be, like I don't tie my image anymore. I did for a long time, don't get me wrong. But I realize I need to reinvent myself when it comes to my legs. And I'm starting to do more leg presses and, heavy leg presses where you sit on the ground and you push up with your, that's leg press machine. I'm starting to do more leg presses. I'm starting to lighter weight with deeper squats. I'm starting to play around with things. I haven't found like the perfect Ronin solution for myself yet, but I made the change. I let go of the old me, where it was like, I can squat this much, watch me do it. Because I still can. I can still put the weight on and show you at a summit something. But it's not safe. It's not smart anymore with the back injury at this age. It's no longer a wise move for me. I could do it in an emergency and I could do it for a summit if I'm feeling good, but I don't want to. I think it's time for me to reevaluate the squats. I still love deadlifts. I love squats. I'm going to do squats. But I'm open. I'm open to like ways to build my legs that don't require putting a lot of weight on my back. Because I'm starting to realize my legs are not really my back anyway. It's like they start at your hips basically, right? So the reason why I did squats was to build my legs mostly, right? And so this might end up being a very fruitful journey for me, is to really learn. Maybe I'll even be able to build my legs up more. Like I've noticed my legs are kind of getting bigger since I've been changing. I think I've been doing more of that, what's that called? The not the calf raise. The one where you push out like this.
Oh, leg extension?
Leg extension. I've been doing leg extensions. I've been doing a couple of other machines and presses, leg presses, and a couple of machines, and I've noticed that my shorts are getting a little bit, especially when I move in certain ways, the shorts that I have that aren't stretchy, they're getting a little uncomfortable in certain positions. So I know my muscles must be getting a little bigger in my legs for that to happen, right? So I've actually seen some benefit already from this shift, and I haven't found it yet. It will take time, open-mindedness, and what I really hope is that I kind of like, through episodes like this, I cultivate a group of guys like myself so we can kind of like all kind of be like the ultimate life trainers and look at each other and say, you know what? I had a friend with that, and he tried this and it worked. Try it out, It's It's like a bunch of open-minded guys that are pushing the envelope in themselves, right? And wanting to unlock that stuff. Because, at the end of the day, right, all you have is your body. When you die, you only take your body with you. You don't take your wallet, right? The only thing you really have is the things that are connected to you. That's your only real personal possessions, right? If you take a shower, take all your clothes off, that's what you got. Like that's all you got, right? Money is nice. It's invented by man, and it's not there. I have tons of friends who have spent their life getting money, and they're dying, and they're kind of killing themselves now because they realize they fucked up. So now they're just kind of drinking themselves to death and stuff, right? Well, in a happy way. Like, they're not like depressed, but they're just kind of like, they're kind of too far gone.
But they'll look at you and they're envious.
Oh yeah. Oh.
They're like, they'd give up every single dollar.
Yes.
They'd go into debt just to have what you have. They'd like give up their house, every dollar, just to have your health. Yes. What does it matter if
you're absolutely right?
They can't move around like you.
You are 100% right. And about like, they would actually, my friends that you're talking about, like I'm talking about, they actually would do that because they know, like, that's all they got, and it's like, my life is good. Like, I love my life,
Like, I mean, like, what's the, like, you can't even really put a number on. I mean, there's the saying, health is wealth, but like, that investment in your body, like, what's that really worth? I mean, to some people, like giving up all their money just to have what you have, it's like.
But it's not even an investment. Like, I don't even think of it as investment because I'm cheap as fuck. Right. Like, I don't spend any money on anything, right? I like my body. The only thing I bought is creatine. Now I'm taking creatine, right? But if I go to a gym in a new city and there's no one at the front desk to take money, I'll just walk in, just fucking use the gym. I'm not out to invest in my body. I just want to get a workout, right? If it requires me doing pull-ups on trees when I walk by, or hanging off a branch, or doing push-ups here and there, and lifting weights there, and water skiing over here, and snowboarding over there, and climbing a mountain over there, and climbing a mountain or a fence, or a waterfall or whatever. Like, it's kind of like the what did Chime Time say? He said, "You're the perpetual motion machine."
Right.
He said, "That's me," and it was the best description of me I've ever heard. Like, physically, it was a miracle. Like, perpetual motion machine. Like, that is me. Like, and I just end on this, but I think people that don't do this are idiots. Like, I just sit, like, right now I'm at a convention, not the summit that's coming up next weekend, but I'm at this other convention, and like, people just sit there for hours, and like, I just cannot see how they do it. Like, I just, even for an hour, I'm just like, God, this is a long time to sit. Like, I've gotten so far away, like, from the way Western people live, that I just can't even, like how can you sit for an entire day? Like, I can't. 3 hours to sit in one place.
I mean,
if
you're healthy and you're healthy, you're in touch, you can feel your body more. You're not numb to your body. And when you're sitting, you're kind of like, you're like, I need to get up and get moving. Like,
yeah, I just want to stand up.
You start to feel bad, right?
I do. I really
like,
start.
You're like, oh, I don't feel good. Like,
no, I just want to, like, even now I'm kind of moving around. I'm kind of doing this twist on my side right now. I'm laying on the bed, and like, I constantly kind of trying to, keep that back kind of bending and the blood going. And yeah, no, it's, guys, there might be no more important aspect of, like, let's just call it the Ronin lifestyle than this. Like, I think this is number one. Like, understanding, life and women and all that, that's all great and everything. But if you're silently, like, if you've given up physically on life and are filled with regrets, and are not trying new things and are not growing, like the mental knowledge of understanding traps, it's nice and everything. I mean, it's good. It's good to make money. It's good to be aware of the traps of life. But again, like, what do you have? Go in the shower, take your clothes off, look in the mirror. That's what you have. That's all you have. What are you going to do with it?